Becoming a world champion wrestler is one of the hardest feats in the entire world to accomplish. Becoming an Olympic champion wrestler is looked at as of equal or even greater difficulty. And to accomplish both world champion and Olympic champion status, you're just considered a legend in the sport of wrestling. Now, to become a world champion wrestler, you're going to have to go and wrestle others who have accomplished these goals already. And for me, it just so happened that the guy to beat was a multiple-time world and Olympic champion. His name is Zaur Uguev. Uguev from Russia hails from Dagestan and competed at 57 kilograms the last 5 to 7 years. He is a two-time world champion in 2018 and 2019 and the 2020 Tokyo Olympic champion at 57 kilograms. The light weights, such as 57, 61, and 65, are looked at as some of the most difficult weights pound for pound due to the high level of competitiveness, technical ability, and skill, along with speed and strength all combined into one. So becoming a multiple-time world champion is a very difficult thing to accomplish. But Zaur Uguev held the fort down for the last 5 years, being the guy to beat, and kept standing on the top of the podium year after year after year. He was regarded as one of the best pound-for-pound wrestlers in the world at all weight classes because of this, and was, from 2019 until 2023, left a 4-year undefeated streak where he did not lose a match until he faced me, Stevan Micic, in the 2023 World Championship quarterfinals, where I became the first freestyle world champion in Serbia's history. Now, before we get into this story, guys, and we get into what I did to beat Zaur Uguev and end his unbeaten 4-year run and knock off one of the best wrestlers in this era of wrestling, be sure to go subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn notification bells on for more amazing world-class content. Now, before I get into the story and our history of wrestling with each other, what made Zaur Uguev such a great wrestler and his ability, what made him special to make him able to be so consistent at such a high level, being able to win and beat everybody and win these matches against some of the best wrestlers in the world. First off, Zaur Uguev's positioning is phenomenal. Coming from Dagestan, he is the epitome of how a Dagestan wrestler wrestles. Very good stance, high-level positioning, great skill, knows how to wrestle in all positions, and phenomenal on top. Uguev is someone who's very hard to score on and grab leg attacks on, and keeps his hand-fighting positioning very strong. When he needs to score, he finds a way to score. One of the things that he's always been a guy, especially in the more recent years when people started scouting him, he was very difficult to beat because even when guys could keep a match close or even take the lead on him, he always found a way to clutch out a win with he has a beautiful outside step or an underhook attack that he was able to score with short time left and win his matches. Little mistakes, finding ways to score when he needed to be, and then having an X-Factor gut wrench on top allowed him to crack open matches if needed be for him to win in a dominant fashion against some of the best in the world. If you look at his Tokyo 2020 run, he was down in almost every match into the finals and came back with a takedown in the last minute or 30 seconds to win each match, going up into the finals where he won against Ravi Kumar from India. Now to go into my side of the story. In order for me to win that world title in 2023, I had others in the weight who were also previous world champions, such as Zelimkhan Abakarov and Rei Higuchi from Japan. But Uguev was still that guy to beat. He had been unbeaten in 4 years, hadn't lost since the 2019 European Games, where he suffered a defeat against a wrestler from Azerbaijan in the semifinals, where he went on to avenge his loss against him first round of the 2019 World Championships, and he went on to win a gold medal that year. I was also in that weight class where I took 5th at the Worlds and qualified for the Olympic Games, where I was also in Uguev's bracket in Tokyo 2020. So I've always been there firsthand to witness Uguev's ability to win big matches in big moments, such as the World and Olympics. But also, let's backtrack just a little bit to go to how me and Uguev had previous history of wrestling each other and knowing each other before competing at the 2023 World Championships. As you guys have seen in my previous video of how I spent 3 weeks in Dagestan when I was 17 years old, I spent time training with Uguev for a few weeks in training camp in Kasivert, Dagestan, and getting to know him and become friends with him when we were very young. Then in 2018, in my first competition representing Serbia, I wrestled him in Dagestan in my very first match ever at the senior level, wrestling Uguev in a crazy close match. The match was 6-4. Making weight, this was my first time making 57 kilos ever, which was especially hard the first time because I was a 133-pound wrestler for the University of Michigan and had to make this cut down to 125 pounds, which I've never done before. Also drawing a native Russian, a Dagestan wrestler who also was a friend of mine, I was a little bit nervous and complacent in my match just wanted to make sure I kept positioning and didn't go too wild where I would be exposed or show any lack of experience when stepping on the mat with Uguev, who was already a world team member previously the year before for Russia at the senior level. The match started off good for me, where I actually got the first takedown and went up 2-0 with a knee pull, where I took the lead 2-0, getting the first takedown with my classic knee pull single leg. But then I felt like I just kind of held position a little bit more, and then while Uguev just started opening up the match, getting 2 takedowns as the match went on, and a third takedown, being up 6-2. Then at the end of the match with the last minute to go, I got a front headlock and got one of my favorite moves, the little shuck by that I hit from the front headlock to get up 2 points, surprising Uguev. And then when we were called back up to our feet, I just needed one takedown to win, but I couldn't find it and ended up falling 6-4. Uguev went on to make the finals and take silver that year at the European Championships, where I won my first medal for Serbia, claiming bronze. That year, I didn't wrestle in the World Championships due to a small knee injury, but Uguev ended up winning his first world title in 2018 in Budapest, Hungary. From 2018 all the way up until 2023, I had some developing to do in the sport of wrestling. I needed to get better in my positioning. I needed to increase my technique, but more than anything, I needed my mental and my tactics to match up on point so I could be more consistent. Consistency was probably my biggest problem wrestling at the senior level while in college at the University of Michigan, due to the fact that I was in between competing folk style and freestyle half the year with each other, as well as trying to maintain cutting down to 57 kilos while also competing at 133 pounds. I also felt that I would always be the guy to win big matches when they didn't matter as much, where I had beaten Nurislam Sanaya from Kazakhstan, as well as Suleiman Atli from Turkey, both world silver medalists, who then I ended up falling to and losing to in the 2019 World Championships, where I took 5th and didn't medal that year. Luckily at that tournament, I qualified for the Tokyo Olympics, but still had some work to do. Being sick and having mono at the Olympics in Tokyo did not help, and especially drawing Yuki Takahashi from Japan, who's one of the best wrestlers at 57 kilograms, a former world champion in his home country, made things difficult. But going on from that point and improving, getting stronger, and getting more technically sound, seeing Uguev on the top of the podium, I knew that I was close because I could keep matches close, but I noticed the discipline that he wrestled with, and I had to take something out of his book and make sure I was more of a disciplined wrestler. After I graduated college in 2022, I moved back home, where I had my dad coaching me full-time and was locked in with my freestyle coaching full-time, having amazing world-class partners with me in the Chicagoland area. I was really able to notice a jump in my levels of consistency in my training, in my confidence, in my abilities that I was able to execute when the time needed and when it mattered. I went on to go win my first world medal, taking bronze at the 2022 World Championships in Serbia. Unfortunately, Russia was not allowed to compete in this World Championships due to the war, Ukraine, so Uguev was not there. But he had still wrestled over the summer in Russia and won every tournament he had competed in, including the Russian Nationals, as well as wrestling in the Russian league called PWL, taking on some of the other top world and Olympic medalists and still winning over them, even though they were competing in the World Championships themselves. But this bronze medal gave me a lot of confidence, knowing that I was able to compete and still be at this level, and actually now I can go on to win gold in my mind. 1 year later, I happened to draw Uguev in the world quarterfinals, which is a very difficult matchup to have, especially early on in the tournament. Now, going into the match, regardless of how good Uguev was, he always respected me on and off the mat, especially as a competitor that I was always keeping good matches and had beaten world-class opponents, so I was right there in a match. Uguev struck first, getting the first takedown, and when we get back up to our feet, we end up getting in another scramble position from a whizzer, I actually expose his back, but he gets another 2-point takedown. The scramble was exhausting, especially with my weight cut being a big factor in the tournament. I needed to recover a little bit because the call the referee put on the mat was a little challenging and questionable, so I made sure that we had our coaches throw the challenge brick so I could reset mentally and physically and get some recovery time back for myself. I ended up losing a point, going down 5-2. Uguev scouted me out very well. Every time I went for one of my fake front headlocks, instead of reacting like a normal wrestler did, he timed it and took an amazing single leg takedown. He took the lead 7-2 going to the break after the first period. At this point, I went to my dad in the corner and I knew we had to change something in my tactics of wrestling Uguev. I noticed my right collar tie wasn't doing anything to him and he wasn't being fazed by anything I was doing, so I knew I had to create some new action and motion using my left hand, incorporating in my snaps, my fakes, and changing my wrestling up a little bit, but now I was trailing and I had to come out a lot harder this second period. Now going into the second period, once I started getting my hands moving, adjusting my tactics, it came to awe that it ended up actually working and was getting Uguev to react differently than he had been in the first period. Now, I end up scoring my first takedown of the second period, closing the lead to now 7-4. Now with about a minute left in the period, we get in a couple scramble positions, one of which where I get to another takedown from the seatbelt position, scoring, and now the match being 7-6 with very short time left, maybe about 30 seconds left. At this point, I wasn't even thinking anymore. I was only reacting off of what I had been trained to do for the past 2 years, just believing in my abilities to win and score and just let my body take over and my instincts to kick in instead of overthinking. Now, in this match, Uguev seemed to be shocked as well and knew that I was coming back and that the momentum was fully on my side. As I kept going with 30 seconds, I kept moving, and as I had practiced millions of times how to finish off a match with 30 seconds left and how to score my last takedown to win the match, I ended up finding a leg with one of my shots, splitting the middle, and taking him down with only seconds to go, leading to one of the biggest upsets of this generation, in my opinion, where I had taken down Zaur Uguev, two-time world champion and Olympic champion, in the quarterfinals at the World Championships with a buzzer-beater takedown to win the match in my home country. Couldn't really get better than that and couldn't script it any better than that. I go on to end up winning my gold medal, avenging a loss to Abakar in the semifinals, and then going on to beat Rei Higuchi from Japan in the finals, winning my first world title, becoming Serbia's first world gold medalist in freestyle history. It was one of the best feelings to do, especially when having to take out one of the best wrestlers pound for pound, especially in the times like this where we had multiple world and Olympic champions in my weight class, which made me feel like I beat everybody I had to win the tournament. I have full respect for Uguev because he was someone who had led the way at 57 kilograms and had been somebody who had been so hard to beat, and no matter who faced him, he always seemed to get his hand raised. It was awesome to be the guy to knock him off and dethrone him, to become the new champion, to become the new king at the weight class. So yeah, that's my story of how I beat Zaur Uguev, multiple-time world and Olympic champion. World champs in everything we do, baby. Make sure to go and subscribe for more. We got more to come. Thank you.